All right, travelers, welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're warping into Teyvat. But we're not going to be, battling any monsters or anything like that. We're going meta. We're exploring how Genshin Impact might be shaping the future of the metaverse itself.
Let's go up.
Yeah, we're going deep into this academic paper. It's called Tech Otakus Save the World. Gacha, Genshin Impact, and Cybernesis.
It's a dense one, but trust me, it's packed with insights about how games like Genshin, especially with that gacha system, could be influencing our digital identities.
Oh, yeah.
Even hinting at a new moral framework for the metaverse.
Whoa, okay. Hold on. Before we get lost in the metaverse, though, let's break down this Cybernesis thing.
Okay.
The paper threw us around a lot. But, what does it actually mean for us, day-to-day players?
Okay, so think of it like this. You spend hours customizing your Serenity pot. Right? Agonizing over every detail. Or maybe you've debated for days about which character's lore really resonates with you. Cybernesis is that blurring of lines where our virtual choices in Teyvat
start to reflect our real-world values and identities.
So my obsession with building the perfect teapot in Genshin says something about my real-life personality.
Exactly.
That's a bit freaky.
It is a little bit.
But also kind of cool.
Yeah, and the paper argues that the gacha system actually amplifies this effect.
Okay.
It's not just about getting cool characters.
Right.
It's about the time and effort we invest in them.
Yeah.
The way we build them up, almost like nurturing a part of ourselves.
Okay. That makes sense. But the paper also drops some mind-blowing stats about how much gacha can cost.
Oh, yeah.
It claims that fully maxing out a character and their weapon could set you back thousands of dollars.
Thousands.
And take a whole month of grinding.
Wow.
Is it really like a second job?
Well, the article draws parallels to this broader trend of gamification.
Okay.
Where everything from earning airline miles to tracking your steps starts to feel like a game with rewards and levels.
It makes you wonder if the lines between play and work are getting blurry, even in a game as fun as Genshin.
That's a really good point. And then there's this whole thing about Genshin potentially influencing the metaverse.
Yeah.
Especially given its origins in China.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The paper argues that China's approach to the internet, with its emphasis on positive energy and tight regulations, could actually shape how the metaverse develops. Not just in China, but globally.
Wait, so you're saying my adventures in Teyvat could be part of some grand plan for a morally driven metaverse? It's a lot to process.
It is a complex topic, but the article dives into how Genshin's success on the mainland might suggest that Chinese-developed metaverse platforms could become dominant worldwide, potentially spreading their values in the process.
Hold on. Are we talking about a metaverse where everyone's sipping tea in their Serenity pots?
Maybe.
Discussing the virtues of hard work and harmony? What happened to the Wild West of the internet?
Well, the paper doesn't paint such a utopian picture. It questions whether a neo-socialist framework, as it calls it, could be subtly woven into the fabric of the metaverse through popular games like Genshin.
Whoa, okay. This is getting deep.
Yeah.
So we've got Cybernesis Gacha influencing our desires, and now a potential Chinese-flavored metaverse. I need a break to go level up my characters and process all of this.
We're just getting started. In part 2, we'll unpack the psychology behind Gacha even further and explore whether it's just harmless fun or something more manipulative.
Oh boy, can't wait. Okay, so we're back in Teyvat.
Yeah.
But this time we're peering behind the curtain a bit, examining the psychological gears that keep us hooked. Last time we talked about how Gacha can get pricey. Right. But it's not just about the money. It's something about that anticipation, the thrill of the pull.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Keeps us coming back for more.
Oh, yeah. It's the genius of Gacha, really. The paper dives into how it taps into our brain's reward system. Every time we pull a rare character, it's a little dopamine rush, a little victory dance in our brains.
So it's like a slot machine. But instead of coins, we're chasing waifus and husbandos. No judgment here.
Right. Well, the paper does draw comparisons to gambling.
Right.
But it goes even deeper than that. It connects it to this idea of operant conditioning. Remember those experiments with rats pushing levers for food pellets?
Oh, yeah, from Psych 101.
Exactly. So think of the wishes as the lever and those coveted 5-star characters as the reward.
Okay.
Each pull is a gamble. And the more we play, the more those random rewards reinforce our behavior.
So we're like those rats, basically.
Kinda, yeah. It's like training our brains to crave those little bursts of excitement, even if it means spending more Primo Gems or, let's be real.
Real money.
Yeah, real money.
Okay, I'm starting to see the dark side of this gacha thing. But haven't games always had like ways to keep us engaged? What makes Genshin's system so unique?
Yeah, that's a good question. The paper argues that Genshin's gacha is particularly effective because it's tied to these characters that we've come to know and love. It's not just about stats. It's about collecting characters with rich backstories, personalities, even voice lines that we adore. You know, we're not just building a team, we're forming a connection.
That's true. I've definitely felt that pull to get a certain character, not just because they're powerful, but because I'm genuinely curious about their story.
Yeah.
You know, their place in the world of Teyvat.
Exactly. And that emotional connection is what makes Genshin's gacha so potent.
Okay.
It blends the thrill of the gamble with a genuine desire to learn more about these characters, to complete our collections, and maybe even project a bit of ourselves onto them. It all loops back to that Cybernesis idea we were talking about.
So it's like those characters become a part of our like extended digital selves.
Yeah.
And the gacha system fuels that desire to expand our collection, to explore different facets of our digital identity.
Precisely. And the paper even touches on how this desire for specific characters can drive some intense online behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Think about all those whale videos showcasing players spending outrageous sums for a chance to get their favorite characters.
I've seen those. It's like a whole subculture.
It is. And that brings up the ethical question.
Yeah.
Is MyHoyo cleverly exploiting our psychological vulnerabilities? Or is it just giving players what they want?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I've definitely dropped more money than I'd like to admit on wishes, but it always felt like my choice, you know?
That's the tricky part. The paper doesn't really offer any easy answers,
Right.
but it does encourage us to be aware of these psychological mechanisms at play. Knowing how gacha works might help us make more informed decisions about how we spend our time and money in Teyvat.
That's a good point. It's like knowing the house always wins in gambling, but sometimes you just can't resist spinning those slots.
Exactly. And remember, Genshin is just one example of this broader trend. The paper argues that gacha mechanics are bleeding into all sorts of online experiences.
Oh, really?
From mobile games to social media platforms.
It's like that saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Are we all just becoming addicted to these little dopamine hits, these fleeting feelings of reward? It's a bit unsettling, to be honest.
It is a question worth pondering, especially as we move towards this metaverse future that we keep talking about.
But before we like spiral down that rabbit hole completely,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a bit. In the next part, we'll tackle the elephant in the room, China's role in shaping the metaverse, and what that could mean for players like us. Okay, so fellow travelers, we've journeyed through the ins and outs of Gacha, explored the depths of Cybernesis, and now we're facing the final boss, the future of the metaverse,
Yeah.
especially with Genshin Impact's Chinese roots in the mix.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And the paper doesn't shy away from the potential, like, cultural clash here, you know?
Right.
On the one hand, you've got MiHoYo, a Chinese company, building this massive global platform with Genshin at its core.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you've got China's internet landscape, which is very different from what we're used to in the West.
Yeah, we've touched on the whole positive energy thing a bit, but can you, like, break down exactly how China's approach to the internet might influence the metaverse they're trying to build?
Sure. So the paper pulls some examples from China's current online regulations. Think strict content moderation, censorship of certain topics, and even the promotion of specific values through online campaigns. Like, you know, it argues that these same principles could be applied to the metaverse, potentially creating a more controlled and curated experience.
So instead of the Wild West of the internet, we get a carefully manicured Chinese garden.
Maybe something like that.
I mean, part of the appeal of Genshin is its freedom to explore, to create your own fun. Would that even translate to a heavily regulated metaverse?
That's the million-dollar question. The paper suggests that Chinese companies like MyHoyo might try to strike a balance,
Okay.
appealing to global audiences while adhering to certain guidelines set by the Chinese government. It's like walking a tightrope
Right.
between cultural expression and regulatory control.
Okay, I see where this is going. We're talking about a potential clash of ideologies, right?
Yeah.
Like a Western ideal of a free and open internet versus a more controlled and harmonious approach favored by China.
Exactly. And the paper throws in this intriguing term, neo-socialism,
Okay.
suggesting that these values might be subtly embedded within the metaverse, potentially influencing players on a subconscious level.
Hold on. Are we talking about subliminal messaging hidden within like daily commissions or something? That's getting a bit too Black Mirror for me.
No. The paper isn't suggesting anything so overt. It's more about how the design and mechanics of the metaverse, shaped by a Chinese company, could subtly nudge players towards certain behaviors or ways of thinking.
So, like, maybe instead of brutal PvP battles, we'll get cooperative farming simulations that promote teamwork and resource sharing.
Potentially.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's all speculation at this point. But the paper does raise some valid concerns. It argues that we need to be aware of these potential influences, especially on the lines between entertainment culture and politics become increasingly blurred in the metaverse.
You know, it all circles back to that Tech Otakus Save the World tagline. At first it just seemed like a joke, but now I'm wondering if it's like a subtle hint at my Hoyo's ambitions.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the paper dives into that too. It suggests that tech otakus, those deeply immersed in games like Genshin, could become unwitting ambassadors for a particular set of values, shaping the metaverse in ways we might not even realize.
It's a bit unsettling to think that our adventures in Tyvat could be part of some grand cultural experiment.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe it's not all doom and gloom. Maybe a metaverse influenced by Chinese values could bring something positive to the table.
That's a possibility the paper acknowledges. It argues that a focus on community harmony cooperation values often associated with Chinese culture could lead to a more inclusive and less toxic online environment.
Okay, I'm starting to see both sides of this now. It's like a fork in the road. One path leads to a controlled, curated metaverse. The other to a potentially more harmonious, but less free digital world.
And as players, we're standing at that crossroads, helping to shape which path the metaverse takes. Our choices matter. Our voices have weight.
So what's the takeaway here? What can we as players do to ensure that the metaverse becomes a place we actually want to spend time in?
The paper emphasizes the importance of awareness and critical thinking. We can't just blindly accept whatever version of the metaverse is presented to us.
Okay.
We need to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and hold these companies accountable for the worlds they're creating.
It's like we're not just players anymore. We're pioneers, shaping a new digital frontier. And with great power comes great responsibility.
Right, exactly. So as you continue your adventures in Teyvat, remember that you're not just exploring a virtual world. You're helping to define the future of the metaverse itself. Choose wisely, traveler. The fate of the digital world might just be in your hands.
Well, that's a wrap on our deep dive into Genshin Impact and the metaverse. It's been a wild ride, exploring everything from gacha mechanics to Chinese cultural influences.
Hopefully, this journey has left you with more questions than answers, inspiring you to think critically about the digital worlds you inhabit and the forces that shape them.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep shaping the metaverse into a place where we can all thrive.